And it looks like we're doing a good job of that. That's what candidates do.
Hello, my name is David Meeks, and tonight I am officially announcing that I am running for the U.S. House of Representatives for the Republican nomination. And for those of you who may not be aware, Vic Snyder currently occupies that seat. The reason why I'm doing this is because I am concerned about America like you are. I saw how the election was, and I saw that the direction that our country started to move. And then I looked at who was in Washington representing us. And I looked at their voting record. And what I found out is that we have a representative here in the 2nd District who I believe is not doing his job. His voting record shows that he votes with Speaker Pelosi 96% of the time. And everybody knows that Speaker Pelosi does not represent our values. She represents San Francisco values. So why do we have a congressman who's voting with her 96% of the time? Well, the answers that you get is, well, I'm going to vote my conscience. Or I want to be on the right side of history. Or it may not be a perfect bill, and he actually said this on the cabinet trade, it may not be a perfect bill, but it's better than nothing. Well, guess what? We as Arkansans know that when you raise our taxes, when you pass bills that cost us jobs, and when you do other things, we know better. We know better. And guess what? We want to change that. As we've been talking about here tonight, it all starts at the local level. And I want my campaign to be about a team effort. I want to help other people at the local and at the state level to get elected. Because I know that as a team, that we can make a big change in the state of Arkansas, and we can move our country back to where it needs to be. I'm just a common man. I work a 40-hour job, much like everybody else here does. I know that when they pass bills in Congress, I know how it affects every single one of us. And they may say, well, $20 a month extra on your electric bill is not much. It is a big deal. It is a big deal. That $20 a month means that might be one less time that I can go out and go to a restaurant and eat. Well, guess what that does? That then affects that restaurant with less customers. It just kind of goes around in circles. When an employer or when a business is affected because of what happens in Washington and they have to cut back on benefits, we feel that. When they have to lay us off because of the way that the economy is going, we feel that. I want to take Congress back. There's a very important document, and I'm sure that most of y'all know what it is. Hopefully you've read it. It's called the Constitution of the United States. This is what people from the JP level on up to our president should be following. They should know what it says, and they should know what it means. Here's just a few examples of how Vic Snyder apparently does not know what's actually in this document here. Amendment 1 talks about limiting our not limiting our free speech, but yet Congressman Snyder co-sponsored the Hate Crimes Act, which is nothing more than that. It wants to limit our free speech. Amendment 2 talks about our right to bear arms, yet Congressman Snyder has been voted over and over again, has been given an F by the National Rifle Association for his pro-gun control voting record. And we know what the 9th and the 10th Amendment talks about, and that's about our state sovereignty. Yet Vic Snyder continues to vote over and over to take our rights away. In the cap and trade bill, he voted for a provision that would make you have to have a government bureaucrat come in, look at your home, and if it doesn't meet energy efficient standards, then you would have to shell out thousands and thousands of dollars to get it up to those standards before you could actually sell that home. Not only that, those same things would end up raising the cost of a new home. And do you know that will affect builders? And when it affects builders, it affects the economy. You could also talk about his stimulus bill. And in that stimulus bill, believe it or not, there was a provision in there to ration health care. Ration health care. Meaning that if the government looked at your age and looked at the procedure and said, well, you're only going to live a couple of years, and this is going to cost us a couple $100,000, that's too much. You're not going to get the surgery. That's not what America is all about. America is about freedom. It's about freedom. I'm going to actually read you a quote made by our president today when he was over in Africa. He said, "No country is going to create wealth if its leaders exploit the economy to enrich themselves. No business wants to invest in a place where the government skims 20% off the top, or the head of the port authority is corrupt. No person wants to live in a society where the rule of law gives way to the rule of brutality and bribery. That is not democracy, that is tyranny, even if occasionally you sprinkle an election in there. And now is the time for that style of governments to end." I agree with President Obama. But you know what? A lot of what was in that speech that he gave to Africa, we can make here in America. His style of government is the same thing. And if we don't watch out, and if we don't go and we don't stand up, then our democracy will turn into a tyranny. That's not what I want to leave to the children and to the grandchildren. I want to leave a place where I grew up here in Arkansas. Folks, I'm going to need your help. I'm going to need your help. I'm going to need you to go out and tell people about me, tell people about what I stand for, and educate them on what Vic Schneider is doing in Washington and how he's taken away their rights and their freedoms. And I also need you to contribute, of course, because we know that when the time comes, he's going to get his money from the special interest groups and the lobbyists who don't have your values and your principles in mind. I wouldn't be in this race if I didn't believe that I can win. People ask me that all the time. You can't put in a lot of money yourself, and you have no name recognition. I can win. I'm just going to get out there and shake people's hands. I'm going to get out there and give speeches, even if it's 2 or 3 people. I'm going to get out, and I'm just going to ask people to contribute and get that message out. And I believe through a grassroots effort campaign, and I believe through contributions from people much like yourself, I believe in 2010 we can get the 2nd District back to somebody who's going to go up to Washington, who's going to represent your values and your principles. Thank you.